The Rehabilitation Act of 1973. The Rehabilitation Act of 1973, often just called the Rehab Act, prohibits discrimination on the basis of disability in programs run by federal agencies, programs that receive federal financial assistance, in federal employment, and in the employment practices of federal contractors. Standards for deciding if employment discrimination exists under the Rehabilitation Act are the same as those used in Title I of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Like the ADA, the Rehab Act has several sections to it. Section 501. Section 501 prohibits federal employers from discriminating against qualified individuals with disabilities. It also obliges them to take affirmative action to hire and advance in employment qualified individuals with disabilities. Section 503 prohibits employment discrimination based on disability and requires affirmative action in the hiring, placement, and advancement of people with disabilities by federal contractors or subcontractors. In addition, in 2013, the U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Federal Contracts Compliance published a final rule that makes changes to this section of the Rehab Act. The new rule sets a utilization goal for people with disabilities as 7% of employees in each job category or 7% of the total workforce of a business contractor with the federal government. These changes will help increase the employment of people with disabilities by companies that do business with federal government. Section 504. Section 504 of the Rehab Act makes it illegal for federal agencies or programs or activities that receive federal financial assistance or are conducted by a federal agency to discriminate against qualified individuals with disabilities. Requirements under Section 504 include reasonable accommodation for employees with disabilities, program accessibility, effective communication with people who have hearing or vision disabilities, and accessible new construction and alterations. Each federal agency has its own set of Section 504 regulations that apply to its programs. For example, through Section 504 and the ADA, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services works to make sure that doctors' offices and clinics' medical equipment are accessible to people with disabilities. Another federal agency, the U.S. Department of Education, makes sure that students with disabilities get the kinds of educational services they need to succeed in school. An award-winning documentary film, The Power of 504, documents the events that led to the signing of Section 504 into law. Section 508 requires federal electronic and information technology to be accessible to people with disabilities, including employees and members of the public. An accessible information technology system is one that can be operated in a variety of ways and does not rely on a single sense or ability of the user. For example, a system that provides output only in visual format may not be accessible to people who are blind or have a low vision, and a system that provides output only in audio format may not be accessible to people who are deaf or hard of hearing. Some individuals with disabilities may also need accessibility related software or peripheral devices in order to use systems that comply with Section 508.